There is a common misconception about wills. Most people think that because they have a will on record, their survivors and loved ones will be taken care of. But it's only partially correct. There is so much more to having a solid estate plan. So today, Ohio's retirement coach Greg Taylor of Legacy Retirement Group walks us through some additional steps that we all should take. So welcome, Greg.
It's good to be here.
So obviously you're not an attorney,
No.
so you don't have a part in kind of writing the wills and the trust, but you do get involved in the estate planning process. So what type of role would you take in that?
Well, the first thing, when we look through someone's materials and things that they have in place already, we're looking to see if there's anything that what we call slips through the cracks. So anything missing so that we can introduce them to someone or at least point them in the right direction of the things that might be missing.
Okay, so what are the elements that they need as far as a solid estate plan is concerned?
Well, a lot of people think, well, do I purchase a will or a trust? That seems to be the two common documents that are out there today. And so a lot of people just have a simple will and a trust, but there's things like a durable power of attorney for health care, financial durable power of attorney, living will, HIPAA waivers, things like that allow your family to make important medical decisions and financial decisions in the event that you're unable to make those decisions.
And it's sometimes too late, people think of those things. So it's important for them
Yes.
to understand to get them done while they're still of right mind.
That's right, while they can make their own decisions.
Right. Okay, so what are some of the things that can go wrong when you have this solid plan in place?
Well, the worst thing is your estate goes what's called intestate, which means that you have no declaration and the court system then has to decide who gets what's left over. And I don't think anybody really wants that. So at least have a basic will. Yes, your will go through probate. Probate is not the end of the world, but it's unnecessary and there will be costs involved with it. There will be some delays in getting your estate settled. And what a lot of people don't like, it becomes a matter of public record.
Right. And sometimes you don't want them to choose one child over another or however it may work
Right.
out. You want to do what your heart wants, right?
Right.
Okay, so how do most of your clients view their legacy? Are most people trying to leave something behind for their kids, grandkids, or are they kind of focused on their retirement lifestyle?
I've seen a shift. Our clients that are older, say 75 or older, they tend to be a little more focused on what they're able to leave to their children and or grandchildren. The younger clients, the boomers that are maybe 55, 60, 65 right now, they're no longer getting those pensions for the most part. Those defined benefit pensions are kind of a thing of the past. So they want to make sure, number one, that they're not going to run out of income during their lifetime and they're not going to run out of assets. But then whatever's left over, they want to make sure that it gets to their loved ones efficiently. And there's been a lot of discussion recently about, should someone have a trust? Because the reason back in the 90s, a lot of people had a trust was to double their exemption for federal estate taxes because the exemption was relatively low back then. And there was also a state of Ohio inheritance tax back in those days, and there is no longer now. So a lot of people think, well, since I don't have $5 million saved, as an example, I don't need a trust. But a lot of times maybe you have a loved one that wouldn't handle a big inheritance well, and you want to make sure that you can control how they get that after you pass. A trust can be a good job to do some of those things. So there's a lot involved in what's the best document, but be sure, make sure you have something in place ahead of time.
So how should somebody get started?
Well, first of all, sit down with someone that can help you identify where your gaps are, and then find a good solid estate planning firm that can help you get those documents in place and get your affairs in such an arrangement that your wishes will be carried out should something happen.
All right, very important stuff. Greg, thank you so much. And clearly there is a right way and a wrong way in estate planning, and that is just one area where mistakes are made. So Greg and Kristen are up next with more common money mistakes and, more importantly, how to avoid them.